Welcome to the Curious Conversation Collaborative, a community for purpose-seeking entrepreneurs, leaders, and changemakers.
Listen to inspiring conversations with your hosts, inner leadership mentor Tessa Van Keken and business wealth coach Karen Ravel.
Right, so for those of you who are normally listening to our podcast, you're very welcome on this very special Q&A episode. And we are blessed to have a few really established or new and nice entrepreneurs here to talk to us today. So rather than just normally you're listening to Karen and myself discussing a particular topic. And this month we have been talking about doing business in challenging times. And today, as I said, we wanted to have some people on who will ask some questions or tell us about their issues around specifically this challenging time with Corona going on. So we had a few questions, and based on that, we'll have a little bit of a discussion to see what's going on for people and to hear both our challenges and opportunities for this particular time.
As this was such an interesting discussion, we have decided to break this down into two sessions. In this first episode, we introduce our guests and discover the different types of challenges they have faced both personally and professionally during this worldwide pandemic.
Morning, hi. My name is Michelle Delport. I'm a long-time entrepreneur, more than 20 years experience, and have recently become a coach. I registered as a coach last year. And as a long-time entrepreneur, my niche is female entrepreneurs, because I know what it's like to be an insecure, self-doubting female entrepreneur, and would like to create a platform in which I can give other female entrepreneurs a voice and a place to express themselves.
I'm an aspiring woman entrepreneur, and previously I was handling my parents' super specialty hospital. But in 2016, I wanted to start something on my own. So recently, we've entered into manufacturing and exports of sustainable, eco-friendly, organic home decor and furnishing. The Art Exotica is the name of my company, and I'm a founder and CEO. And more than 500 designers and artisans are working under our cluster. We do have some of the European designers on board, and we're trying to incorporate their designs on specific material like glass, pottery, for furnishing, as well as for dinnerware and soapware. We are also into all kinds of bags and baskets, which is used mainly for laundry, bread, storing bread, and other kind of requirements. We are in 3 years still in nascent stages of our business, and we do a lot of exhibitions across Europe. I was in Spain and Germany in the month of Feb. We were being sponsored by the Government of India to be exhibiting there.
Hi. So yeah, my name is Phyllis, and I'm an osteopath and therapist, mentor and support. And basically my background is I have been an osteopath and have had my own business for the last 18 years, and I trained as a master NLP and then a master NLP practitioner a few years ago. Well, I got my master last year, and so I, as well as treating patients, which is obviously changed at the moment, I also mentor and support therapists, and also sort of like the general public in how to move forward with their life, that sort of thing, using my NLP skills as well. And I'm doing that both online and offline.
Thank you.
You know, we're starting off this really with about how you're coping in your business in these current quite challenging times. And we know that a lot of people are, some people are seeing this as an opportunity, and some people are seeing this as quite a challenge and are looking for alternative ways maybe to pivot their business. So we'd really like to hear from all of you of like what changes, or how are you seeing this time? Is it, do you see it as an opportunity, or you know, what are the challenges that you're coming up against? So Michelle, yeah, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so for me, I really had to take a step back in the beginning, and I have a young son at home. So the first couple of weeks, I was really adjusting to a new schedule. And then for me, it really just became about self-love and caring for myself and accepting the change, because I was really resistant to it, and I needed to get back to my own self and to being okay with that. And then based on that, I was able to move forward.
That's very interesting, isn't it? Because I think we've spoken about that before a lot. Like now, obviously, I know Michelle from other networks and other places here in the Netherlands, but also Karen and I, we have spoken about it. That often this process, right, where you first become aware of what's going on, and then you have to go through that phase of acceptance, of like, letting go of the resisting what is, to get to a positive action. And I think it's interesting to see again, like that, you know, that process, it's just always that process, but there's always like, you nearly always have that moment where you also, that resistance is normal. Like you nearly can't skip the resistance either to get to the acceptance, if you like. So you have to be first aware of where is the resistance, what is it that it is that you need to accept to move forward.
And I think it's worthwhile pointing out that this goes for any situation, and it's not just in business or now, you know, in change. When change is, you know, sometimes we want to be in control of changing our lives and our direction or whatever, but then obviously life throws changes up for us. And, you know, so it's a time like this now when that change comes along, and you weren't ready for it, and then, like you say, Michelle, it is that sudden you know, resistance about it, but then moving into that, oh, okay, now I've got to kind of accept the situation. It's going to go, especially now, it's going to go on for a while. What can I do? And you know, that's great, giving yourself you know, permission to love yourself first, because we are our businesses, aren't we? I think, you know, in this day and age of what I like to call the artisan entrepreneur, I think we've gone full circle in time, and we're coming back to those, you know, small niche businesses, and it's very personal. And so if we're not looking after ourselves and loving ourselves first, then, you know, we're not going to be able to do our business or move it forward at all. So that's great. That's a really great observation.
I think so. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, certainly for me, it's been, I think for all of us, we're all going to go through roller coasters, and I recognise that. I found that, so I had my business as such a change because of the fact that a great deal of it was hands-on. So I had to make a decision as to whether or not I was going to carry on working and seeing my patients, or close the hands-on side of the practice, and I did that, probably it's coming up for 7 weeks ago now, because I felt I couldn't guarantee the health of my patients, and one of the things as an osteopath that we do is to do no harm and to help our patients, and I felt that I couldn't do that, and it was very difficult because I'd been doing bodywork for 27 years, and this was suddenly to make that decision that I was going to stop from doing it. And although I have got an online side to my business in that I coach you know, clients, but I also mentor and support other therapists, particularly osteopaths, and I do a lot of that online as well as teaching. So I was, especially over the last 2 years, was trying to do a lot more online. It still was an incredibly hard thing to realise that the hands-on part of my work that I absolutely love doing was going to have to stop, and don't know for how long. And so that I immediately got into rescue mode because I've been a lecturer as well for so long. I got into rescue mode because I could see how lots of osteopaths were struggling, and there was arguments and there was all this stuff going on the forums. And I felt, as one of the leaders, I had to step up as somebody to put some positivity there. So it got into the rescue mode. I got organised to do, in 8 days, I put on a summit that me, who's normally a technophobe, did all of this, got a pop-up group, got all these people into it, got 370 people from around the world. It was just incredible, you know, and got 10 speakers. And I did all of this, which kept me going until it happened. All of the sorting of that is still to go on. And suddenly I hit that wall when I realised I haven't looked after me. I haven't thought about me. And that's a bit that I've been struggling with the last few days, particularly, or sort of like week or so, because I've been looking to work out how I can support myself and do what I tell everybody else to do, and what I'm good at, enabling other people to do, but just didn't seem to be able to bring it back to me. I'm getting there though. I'm better. My mood's up and I can do it. But that's a bit that I found the hardest. And almost as I say to people, realizing that you can have those down times. It's just not dwelling in them. It's recognizing that you need to be kind to yourself, as you just said.
And it's great, Phyllis, to see that, so what you basically went into was this stepping up into a leadership role straight away in the middle of a crisis, which is, really what was happening in your industry. So you've stepped up, but that is often the case, that when leaders do step forward in times of crisis, is they put themselves last. So you kind of you said it was a rescuing mode, but it's also kind of like a mothering mode as well. It's kind of like you're trying to look after everyone else, but in that process you forget about yourself, and then like you say, now it's hit home. So yes, and sometimes we despite what we teach, we we don't always walk our talk at times, especially at, when we're thrown into times like this. So that's great for you to share. I really appreciate that, because I'm sure there's other people out there that will listen to this and say, I recognize that in myself. I've had to go into this mode, and then I've not looked after myself. So so that's great. Thank you for sharing that.
And I think also, what you're saying is I think sometimes, again, it's that awareness that sometimes we have to go through that. I think some people start with themselves and then help other people. And some people, it's like what you just said, that awareness of by going in that mode, by helping other people, and then at some point realizing, oh, wait, I need to do this for myself too. So I think it's also as long as that awareness happens, and as long as then you give yourself time to figure out, okay, how am I going to do that? Because very often it doesn't happen straight away. So you have to again go through that phase of accepting that you went into that mode, accepting that you're not doing it for yourself, and then figuring out how you can do it. And also, and I think that was very important what you also mentioned about that you also allow a little bit of that downtime without wallowing in it, because I think it's also that recognition that even if there's lots of opportunities, even if you can see the positive side, that at the same time, what for me came very much up when you were talking, is that there is also that loss. There is that loss of not being able to be with your clients, that not being able to do what you really love. So to also acknowledge that and really allow that to be there too, because it can be there at the same time. You can focus on the positive, you can focus on the opportunities, but acknowledging that feeling of loss is real and it's valid, and it's okay for that to be there too, because that's the reality too. So I think that's, you know, something that really helps as well I often see it like that. The easiest way to actually stay positive is by allowing that feeling of loss or whatever else it might be as well. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think, Tessa, I would just pick up, because you said, like, you know, you raised an important point that some people will go immediately into helping others at the detriment of themselves, and others will be hit by it so strongly themselves first that, you know, maybe, you know, need to freeze and kind of, you know, just work their way through that. And neither's right or wrong, you know. No. There's no right. It's just we're all human and we all react to things in different ways, and, you know, whatever's right for you, you know, whatever's happened to you, that's okay. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah, and I think wherever you start, in the end, what you notice is as long as you stay like in that space that you're also reflect and be aware, then it will come to a balance, right? It's just like you need to also allow that time where, you know, as you said, some people need to first freeze, first to maybe hibernate. So a lot of people retreat first and then move out. It's just like, it's whatever way you start, it's about like, if you keep reflecting, you will also come to that space where you can balance it.
What I also found very interesting was what Phyllis said about practicing what you preach, and I was guilty of that too, giving other people advice about what I think they should be doing and not doing it myself. And so for me, that was definitely also having to look myself in the mirror and be okay with that, and then take on my own advice and apply it.
Yeah, and I think Karen and I have spoken about this a lot in other episodes as well, that acknowledgement, especially people who are coaching, that this is the reason why we have coaches ourselves too. Because sometimes on the one hand, it's practicing what you preach, but on the other hand, it's also the acknowledgement that sometimes it's easier to help other people with certain things, but for yourself, you might need someone else to help you with that. You can't always just because you're coached or just because you know it and how to help others doesn't necessarily mean you can all do it by yourself for yourself. Sometimes you need to then also look, okay, what help do I need from someone else to do this for me? So that to me is still practicing what you preach. It just means to also acknowledge that practicing what you preach doesn't mean you have to do it on your own.
Absolutely.
For me, I have taken an ENDA approach. E stands for essentials, N stands for needs, D stands for desirable, and A stands for avoidable. Just because I have too many products, so I am on the verge of contemplating which are going to be the products which will act as a need-based product or an essential-based product, wherein we could avoid the desirable products, which would certainly come into a luxury basket and which will not be in the need of the hour. Secondly, I'm also using a spin tool, which is like S stands for situation, P stands for problem, I stands for implement, and again, N stands for need. So, you know, just to bucket my customers, I'm using these two approaches, how efficiently I could, you know, deliberate and devise this lockdown period and come out with better and more fruitful strategies once the lockdown is open and once we are back on the track for doing much more fruitful business.
And what about yourself? You know, you as a businesswoman, you know, personally, how are you coping right now?
So for me as a person, of course, I do have a little bit of challenges when it comes to the payments from my customers, because most of my customers, they are based in Europe. And the shipments are on hold because of the seaport has been, most of the seaports are closed there in Europe. So once the curb has been lifted, I think everything is going to be back on track. So we really need to have a lot of patience as of now. Okay. Because we don't have anything in hand, and we really cannot do something about it. So I need to have a lot of patience, and I know things will really be in favor after a month's time. So this is really a time to ponder and reflect and come out with the better strategies.
And I hope you don't mind us asking a little bit further, but I'm just curious, like, because you mentioned this, like the patients and but do you notice for yourself, do you find that difficult or do you find it easy to be in that space of being patient?
I think it's easier said than done, like we all know. So I'm doing a lot of meditation, doing a lot of chanting personally to keep my chakras in place, to align my chakras so that I could handle it with ease. It's not that easy, but then yes, I am trying my level best to cope up with the situation.
Now that sounds great. That like you're aware like what the issues are, like what it is that you need, and to use what the tools that you know that will help you to get there.
If you just allow me 2 minutes of time, I would just like to say when I just came back to India on 20th of Feb. And even I was really apprehensive and scared whether I would also be a corona patient because I just disembarked from Spain, right? And I lost my baggage, all my credit cards, debit cards, my passport, my laptop, iPad, all phones at Barcelona airport on 27th of Feb this year. All my work, everything was lost. So just imagine I have come back without anything. I don't have any database. I don't have my catalogs, my all my information regarding buyers. I exhibited there in Spain, Germany, all the data, everything is lost. What I build on my company from last 4 years. So just imagine I've been coping up from a very big situation, not just, so I personally feel COVID is nothing in front of that. What database I lost, So I've come back and I'm just logging day and night, creating more catalogs. I feel this is a blessing in disguise for me. That God has been kind, given so much opportunity for 48 days of lockdown here in India, so that I can prepare all my catalogs and price lists, and I'm back on track once the lockdown is lifted off, and I can I'm back in action. So yes, I have to cope up a lot after I lost everything.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Surbhi, that sounds like you went through a very challenging time. So, but well done for using this time positively then, and to see how you can use this as an opportunity and look at the different strategies going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me is keeping it simple and totally recognizing that you can be in that I'm not feeling great, and accept that and recognize that. So that's probably my biggest tip, is to recognize and accept that, but don't wallow in it.
I think that this is a very difficult phase, and I say this to myself, that this too shall pass. One should not be very judgmental about one's life, rather than one should flow and be in the present moment, as life takes so much of topsy-turvy paths. We are all bound to experience the peak and troughs of our endeavors. Accepting people, situation, and their actions will make us more prudent and pragmatic. Expectations obviously reduces joy. So keep persevering and have patience. What universe is out there to fulfill all our aspirations? If our energy is pure, sublime, then divine grace shall bestow on us. And one can be an architect of one's own destiny if one is filled with optimistic virtues. So I say that every moment of every day I live my life abundantly, and we should be filled with gratitude every day and always.
Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you,
Very
Serbi.
beautiful,
That's
yeah.
really beautiful. And yes, and I think that's just it, isn't it? It's looking for the good and the positive in every moment, whatever's going on in the world. And it can be very easy, especially if you're watching the news all the time and things like that, reading the papers. It can be very doom and gloom, because obviously they thrive on sensationalism. But it doesn't help the mood of everyone on the planet. So I think, yeah, I think what's coming out of all of this is accepting where we're at, looking for the positives, and keep moving forward, but don't judge yourself at all. You know, whatever pace you're moving right now, that's okay. And sometimes, you know, just really taking that time out to be present. You know, we're really being, I think you're talking about the universe there. I think the universe is really nudging us to do that now, and hold that space for all of us, for mankind as a whole.
Yeah, I think it's very useful for people to get all these different perspectives and different tips, but also to hear about the challenges, because I think there's a real power in hearing that you're not the only one. People can tell you, you know it, but it's from hearing people's stories, from actually people being open and vulnerable about what they're struggling with, and then also, like, obviously, what tools or what actions or whatever it is that has helped you. Thank you for listening. Did you enjoy this episode? Do share your thoughts and questions in the comments, or send us a message.
Do you know someone else who'd be interested in our curious conversations? Please share and spread the word. You can find out more about us at karenravel.com
and tessavankaken.com. Tune in next week for another curious conversation.